Hey guys, welcome back to the Crypto Wave. Recent AMA, a few days ago. Today is July the 3rd. Forex has spoken. Talked about drip, talked about Animal Farm. Let's talk about it. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So he did bring up a couple of things, and I was taking some notes. But then I want to give a shout out over here to Tinshi Won't DM You. I was going back through the Telegram, pulling up all the notes and all that kind of stuff, and lo and behold, he's actually created this little notes option. That note option brings you down to this Google Doc. That Google Doc actually brings you to... Oh man, where is it now? Let me minimize this. No, pay no attention to my OBS there. All right, so that brings you over to this bad boy. So he's actually already done some notes. So let's go over it briefly, and I'll give you my opinions. Some of it I'm interested in, some of it I'm not. I will talk about briefly kind of some of the things he talked about if you guys are interested in the games and things. Really, the biggest thing that I'm interested in the games is anything that's going to feed this pig pen, anything that's going to feed this piggy bank, anything that's going to feed these farms, and anything that's going to feed BUSD or BNB to me. So if indeed there are some games as mentioned, then that I am game for. So he did talk briefly over here in regards to the Pigpen and the fact that he's got some games coming out. One of them is the roulette game, which in essence lets you wager dogs, and I believe a couple other things. And in essence, it gives you I believe he said 1 in 6 chance of winning a prize. You can, however, bet more dogs in order to increase the odds of winning the prize. He did mention something on there, and I haven't gone through this in completely, but he did go into it saying that no matter what, you are looking, if you do win, you're looking at approximately 2 to 3x on the wins and things like that. The other thing he talked about was the game he's been kind of hinting at for a while, which is kind of like a pseudo hacker game. Sounds like he's got that ball rolling. And it's actually going to be using pigs. He didn't say specifically what the pigs are going to be used for, but he did mention that it's going to be able to utilize pigs. I believe he also said you don't actually have to use pigs in order to participate, but it is going to be incentivized for people who do use pigs. There's going to be NFTs involved. There's going to be players, multiple characters, multiple ways to gain experience. Some of it, he said, will be skill-based. Some of it will be, just putting in the time. But I'm curious to see how this is going to play out. He did say there's going to be some NFTs related to it. So as you earn certain items and things, some of those may be represented as NFTs, whereas other ones are not. And it stands to reason why he would do that, because everybody's going to be pushing for those NFTs. And if you get those NFTs, you can sell them on the secondary market. It could raise or lower the value of those particular assets in the game. So in order to keep the economy consistent with the main focus of the game and the longevity of the game, there's going to be some of those items that are NFTs and some that are not. So he did start talking a little bit more about Chainlink, basically saying how Chainlink is going to be utilized a lot in a lot of his games and things, partnerships and all that kind of stuff. Chainlink partners with a lot of people because they do provide a pretty useful service. So not huge news. I'm not expecting this to change anything. What it does tell you, though, is that if you are going to be playing these games and they do rely on specific randomized components, randomized numbers and things of that nature, data, then it's going to be really beneficial simply because Chainlink is a solid player in that game, so you can rely on their information coming in. So what are we interested about? Let's get into the nit and gritty here. As we know, this bad boy still has not come back live yet. We are still waiting for the dogs crediting. Those dogs crediting are going to be directly related to these farms because that's what we're actually farming. For the most part, the majority of these are going to be farming dogs. Those dogs can then be converted into pigs if you wanted to, or you can hold on to them for appreciation of value. However, he is also starting to implement a couple of games that are going to be utilizing the dogs. Now, the other thing that he talked about is the fact that he re-tokenized the dogs. This is going to be a big point of contention, in my opinion, in the space. Now, I'm a pretty firm, solid follower for this. However, it is tough to swallow when the pigs got relaunched and there was a new staking, kind of a forced staking mechanism. And what that is if you're in the pig pen, you know that you're only getting 2% a day. So you'll be able to withdraw 2% a day of your staked pigs every 24 hours. So in essence, it was a forced hold. And I understand why that was in there. And I understand why there was a forced hold, especially in the down market. You don't want people, once the conversion occurred or once the migration occurred, anybody who had hesitancy, and we all know from the chat, if you're in the chat, there's a lot of hesitancy, there's a lot of FUD, there's a lot of fear. People were just going to dump pigs, dump. Those who are long-term holders like myself would have benefited because then you could buy all those dips and things. But I can see why he did it, and you kind of give him a pass for that given the circumstances. Enforcing holding does kind of cool the jet, so to speak, on the selling of the pigs token. But with that being said, he did indeed do it again. And again, this is the second time something has been done. And yes, I can see the benefit of it for the platform as a whole. I get why he's doing it. However, there's some pretty big decisions, and a lot of people who are holding pigs, including myself, a significant amount, or in my opinion, a significant amount of pigs. So to implement a 90% sales tax when everything relaunches on everything that people are holding, without any community involvement or community say, is kind of a tough pill to swallow. Now, me personally, I always look at it from both sides of the coin. I was holding my dogs regardless. I'm holding my dogs. I do sell some of it. Some of it I convert to pigs, and to deposit further. But everything that I'm holding, that I'm farming with, everything that I'm going to be gaining is going to be 90% tax without any say, which is a complete change from the previous tokenomics. The tokenomics change, I understand it, and I also understand there's going to be a lot of people in the chat. They're going to probably be pretty pissed off about this. If you're not a long-term holder, if you're not a long-term animal farm believer, if you weren't planning on already holding these for the next year or two anyways, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, and I don't think we've heard the last of it in regards to the complaints in regards to that 90% tax. Now, he did mention that the tax is going to be reduced. Now, this right here says 10% per month. I believe he said they still haven't solidified that yet. In essence, they're talking about 10% every 2 to 3 weeks, or maybe even 4 weeks, until it gets down to that standard 6% tax, which was part of the original agreement. Now, the tricky part with this is, and what he did not address is, which I'm imagining is going to happen, anything you mine. So if you're over here on the farms, and let's say you mine 4 dogs over here from the dogs BUSD pool, are those 4 dogs taxed 90% the moment you mine them? Which in essence means you would have to wait, in essence, 9 months before you to sell it at that 6% tax? Or is that only based on what you buy and what you deposit? My guess is, in the way that he's doing it, it's going to be on all dogs earned and everything. So it's going to be interesting. Now, he also did mention there are going to be some NFTs. And what those NFTs are is that if you are in the dog single asset pool, which everybody knows that's where I dump a lot of my dogs, over here in the pools area. So a lot of my dogs I pulled out. I did have some in the yield or in the LP farm, but the majority of mine were in the dog stake, so I could earn pigs and put those pigs into the pig pen. But apparently there's going to be some sort of an NFT that if you are staking and holding in that single stake pool, you'll start earning NFTs, and those NFTs will help reduce the taxes also. Now, with that being said, people are going to have a very, very tough choice, because if they decide to start selling the moment dogs gets launched again, that 90% tax is huge for people to sell. Now, what he did do is he took that 90% tax and he's going to dump it directly back to the holders. So 2/3 of it goes to BNB, because in essence, the dog single staking pool is actually going to earn pigs, and I believe he said it's also going to start earning BNB. Let me double check here real quick. The tax amount of dogs will be swapped for BNB and paid out to dog single asset staking, rewarding those who are not selling. 2/3 of the BNB goes to single staking pool. 1/3 goes to BUSD to the PIGGYBANK holders. So anybody who does, and there's going to be a lot of people hard pressed. There's going to be a lot of people angry because they can't sell, but there's going to be a lot of hard pressed people that aren't going to want to sell at 90%. So although it sounds like it's going to be pretty exciting trying to bolster this up, I do like the fact that it is going to push more taxes and fees over there, but I don't like the fact that it's forcefully changing the rules of the game for a lot of people who are holding it, including myself. But again, I'm long-term holder, so I'll eventually, no matter what, I'm going to get back down to the 6% regardless. So, all right, so that is for the dog token. In regards to launching, he has not announced it yet. The good news about launching that he was talking about is that he's got a bunch of different things. He's got the dogs roulette thing that's lined up. He's got the new drip UI with stuff going on with the drip side of things. He does have the dogs themselves that are going to be launching. The farms are going to be launching. The pig token hacker game, whatever you want to call it, as well as Scratchy's, the scratch tickets he's been talking about. All of these are going to feed the ecosystem, provide utilization as well as utility to all these tokens. All very, very bearish. Unfortunately, the market is very, very down. I think if this were to launch a few months ago when everything was riding high, you would see a ton of fees, taxes, and all that kind of stuff. You're still going to. There's still a very loyal group here. But it's not going to be, I think we're a couple months out to seeing some really good fruition on all these projects. However, I do like that all these projects are being launched because he is basically launching with a bunch of tools as well as use cases that will further solidify this ecosystem itself. So going on further, another big thing he mentioned was drip. Really, the biggest thing is that they're going to be redoing the UI. They brought some people on. They're in the process of doing that. But what he mentioned, and it kind of slipped on through, was that he's actually going to be adding a second layer farm in essence. So at the moment, drip, if you're in the faucet, what that in essence does is you deposit and you get 1% a day for 365 days. The more you compound, speaking of which, it's time for me to compound. The more you compound, that value goes up. So this compound that I'm doing of 16 drip will actually allow me to yield 365% of that, because that itself is a brand new stake, if that makes sense. But he did mention that there's going to be the possibility of a second layer. And what is that second layer going to be? He hinted at it a little bit. In essence, sounds like there's going to be some incentive to you can, first off, he did say don't worry, the faucet as it exists now is not changing. You can still use it, you can still deposit, you can still compound, all that good stuff. But what he's talking about doing is there's going to be a secondary layer to that. He didn't go into a ton of detail, but I think we can kind of predict what that's going to be simply by the way he's been handling the piggy bank, dogs, and pigs as well. Which means my guess is there's going to be a new depositing option for, it's going to be kind of faucet 2.0 or whatever you want to call it, which basically is going to allow you to stake your drip for longer periods of time, probably increasing the value that you're allowed to be paid out. I mean, that's what he did with pigs. That's what he did with dogs. That's what he's doing with all those kinds of things. So I wouldn't doubt you're going to see another layer on here. Very, very similar to what he's been doing over here on the animal farm in regards to incentive structure for people holding and such. All right, there was a Q&A after the AMA, all that good stuff. They talked about marketing. Yes, he's already hired marketing people. He's been talking about it for a while. We're going to leave that going. Let's see. The governance protocol for pigs, which I've been waiting on because, again, the pigs are supposed to be ownership of the platform. As of right now, anybody holding pigs should have say, but it's not up and running yet. I'm curious if it was what everybody would have voted on in regards to the dogs, 90% tax being implemented. The other one, which I've mentioned before, is that are we going to be getting our own decks for Animal Farm website? We're never going to build our own decks, but if it's made so that you can buy native assets and liquidity, leaving out Animal website. He did say he said this before, where he wouldn't want a DEX unless it was a little bit more innovative, and it would also include bridges and things of that nature from one chain to another. So Let's see. That was, I think, the only. Yeah, that was the only stuff that I was really, really keen on following. So, all right. Well, I will end it here. Oh no, actually, one other thing here. Let me go back over to the piggy bank. Today is Sunday. Sunday is sell day for me. So we're gonna sell this guy here. This is my piggy bank. 77 right there. I also have this guy down here, which is on 0 time lock right here. So this is gonna be a sell. Let's close that. 3 days, 20 hours is going to be my next release. So in 3 days, 20 hours, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3 that I will be able to cash out on each day. This one's actually pretty decent, $65 for a day. That's not bad actually. So this one was 77. This one was 65. This one was 8. And I'm going to treat these the same, just as all these other ones. Compounding, as you guys know, if you watch my videos, I keep saying it. Compound Monday through Friday, withdrawing Saturday and Sunday. You always want to try and take some profits off the top. This guy's still 675 days, 311 days, 129 days. 3 days later, this guy's going to launch, and this is where I wanted to do that 2-month interval type of thing. So I'm going to have ones releasing every so often here. With my most recent one, I put down here 54 days away, which in essence is 2 months, which leaves me with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I am at that 8 mark that I was hoping for. But I think I'm probably going to keep doing the same thing. It's going to be decision time coming up here. I wanted it so that every week, every Saturday, Sunday, I'm able to cash out a certain value. And compounding the rest of the time. So in essence, every week I have a paycheck, and every week that paycheck is going to grow because every week I will have a new farm releasing to me while I start a new one and start compounding on it. So that's my plan. It seems to be working pretty well. So in reality, 65, let's figure this out real quick. This is at current price of $65 per pig, $77 plus, we're just rounding this, plus the 65 plus 8, so 150. So, and that'll be on Saturday and Sunday. So approximately $300 every weekend, based on 1 to 3 farms. Those have all been withdrawn. Let's compound the rest here. So that is kind of the plan. So then every week, the value that I'll be able to start pulling out is going to be a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, which is big. You know, that's actually, and I didn't realize it, but I think this must be the 3-month one. That's probably why it's so high. I'm trying to remember. I did a 2-year, 1 year, 6 months, which means this one must have been my 3-month, if I'm not mistaken. So 3-month. And then this will be, so in 11 days after that, I think this is my first 2-month actually. Now that I am thinking about it, so in reality I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's 8. Yeah. Anyway, you guys know my plan. Let's keep rolling. I'm going to cash these out. I'm going to deposit those pigs I'm pulling over here into the pig pen. I got $37 chilling over here, as well as 0.25 pigs that are waiting for me to cash out. And we will go from there. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Hopefully this helps. That's a quick rundown of the AMA. Time frames we don't know yet. He's saying another couple weeks. We'll see what happens when it comes down to it. Let me know what you think. Drop some comments below. If there's anything you want me to talk about specifically, let me know. And I can make a video on that if we want to. But otherwise, anybody in America with me, happy 4th of July come tomorrow. Anybody over the world, just have a great weekend. And thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one.